So yeah, this was an opening set. And how many times have you done this bit before?
I think like this is probably my last time doing it, and I think at that point maybe like 5 times.
Mm-hmm. Had it evolved as it went along?
It stayed pretty much the same. I think I just only got more comfortable with it, and so it became a little bit faster.
Okay. Because you said 5 minutes, and it went more than 5 minutes, but you were just like the whole time, just go.
It's never been 5 minutes. I don't know why I kept that in there, but it's always run long.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. Like, what is that, 4 or 5 pages?
I don't even know. Well, so, because I read it off of like a binder, so I printed it out so it, like the words were a lot bigger, so just in case I have trouble reading or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like it ended up being like 16 pages in like the font that I picked. But yeah.
Jesus. But and I loved the lighting at this show too. This was opening for KJ Whitehead. Yeah. The lighting was a great show. But the thing is they couldn't like I think people who do the space like they didn't have much control over the lighting or I couldn't get behind the board on that one. There was someone already behind the board and they were very concerned about me also getting behind the board. So I was like, let me see if I can do something with the lighting or I need to fix the audio. And they like started stressing out and holding their head. And I was like, okay, all right, hold on. I'll do it from here. Like I just need to plug this in.
Man.
Oh man, this was. I have a note here from this. The Anakin Skywalker is a white slave with superpowers, robots, and race cars.
Yeah, I mean that's what he was.
But I mean, what inspired you to do an entire analysis of all the Star Wars movies?
So it's actually very simple. I produce for a show called Arts and Culture Club, mm-hmm. and every single performance is themed. And that night, it was the night that the new Star Wars movie was coming out.
Okay.
We had a themed night for Star Wars, and I just put this piece together so I could perform on the show.
Wow.
But it just ended up being good enough where I could take it other places.
Yeah. So was this your initial take on Star Wars? Like you saw this and you were like, this is kind of bullshit. Or was this an idea of you're going to take another view of Star Wars? Like I'm just going to take this and put it through a different lens. Like Star Wars is seen through The Wire or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen Star Wars so many different times. And so just thinking of like how I can make comedy about Star Wars, I was like, I don't know, man. What if I just did like a simplified rundown of all the movies? Because I was thinking about just like, oh man, it's really just about one family the whole time. Like, I don't know, like part of it, like the more I thought of it, the more simple the actual concept is. And I was like, I should just comment on how simple it is. And then when running through the movies, I would find little parts. I was like, this is either so particular that it's funny, or it really doesn't make sense. And I think like we don't think about it enough. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So it's kind of like roasting a sacred cow.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like the jokes write themselves. Like there's not a lot of like stretch of the imagination kind of jokes. It's a lot of me just being like, isn't it kind of weird that this happened and we've never talked about it? Like I don't know.
It's funny because when I thought about it, I was like, huh. You're doing a bit about Star Wars. You're kind of isn't this Patton Oswalt's territory? It's a little bit. And then you make a point of saying that the Sith and Jedi are street gangs.
Yeah, like, I mean, because that's what they are. You know, I don't know. It's one of those things like, you know, when you write jokes, you just like, all right, find a simplified way of doing it. Because I did want to make this so like simple enough where I could like teach someone who's never seen this like about it what it is. And I also like I did this all from memory. So I told myself like the humor will come from me also kind of getting things wrong.
Okay.
So it's like I didn't like watch any of the movies before I wrote this. I just like wrote from memory what these were. And through that, I was like, yeah, man, like, yeah, the Jedis and the Siths, you know, they're kind of like Crips and Bloods. And, you know, so I just called them street gangs. But yeah.
Love that. And then you're like, yeah, we killed kids. Like, that was
they kill you, man.
Yeah, well, it's a moment where you're like, right, that was in a Disney property. I totally forgot about
they
that.
killed kids and straight up did it. It's kind of a weird detail that they kind of brushed past. But
Right?
yeah, man, he just
Is it like
he had
30
to-
seconds of
yeah.
footage?
They don't really explain it in the movies. Like, all right, so go kill these kids, and now you're a Sith Lord, and it's like that's I don't know.
And did you brush up on the films after you wrote this? Did you go back and be like, hey, what about this piece? Or did you just like, from memory, good enough?
No, just from memory, good enough. And anytime anyone has corrected me on a small detail, like first of all, not a lot of people have corrected me on stuff, so I was
really?
pretty like
Wow.
I pretty much got everything. But anytime someone has corrected me on a small part, they just kind of thought it was funny that I've interpreted it that way. Yeah.
Huh. That's weird because I don't know. Maybe Star Wars fans are different than Tolkien fans, but if you've seen like Stephen Colbert talk about Lord of the Rings, have you ever seen him when someone goes on and like talks to him about Lord of the Rings or makes a reference to it?
No, I don't think so.
No. Someone should make a supercut of this, but he goes like, someone tries to like speak Elvish to him or something, and then he gives them a paragraph. You know,
Wow.
and someone tries to, I think someone tried to trip him up on some kind of trivia, and then he just repeated pages from the Silmarillion at them, and it was just like, wow, like he has studied this in a way that is just fanatical.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised you hadn't gotten that from Star Wars fans. But,
No, like they've been pretty like I don't know. I think it's also because like I'm just talking about the things that happen, not like necessarily like bigger meanings behind the symbology or anything like that. So like it's harder to get that stuff wrong. I feel like a Star Wars fan would care about a lot of like nitpicky stuff, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I just think it's funny that Lando came out of nowhere and he's just essentially the black person.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that they had some color in the galaxy, I suppose. It's like they showed you. Did they showed you what, like 50 different types of aliens before they showed you a light-skinned black person? It's very weird.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
They're like, how does that thing breathe? That's basically a sloth with 6 eyes. And like, oh, finally, a pilot. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, and you've not. So that you've. I'm just kind of flabbergasted that you've done this 5 times and you haven't gotten a whole lot of pushback. People are just like, oh yeah, I guess that's funny.
No, they're strangely into it. Yeah, strangely. There's one person who told me that seeing this piece changed the way they thought of doing comedy, and I'm like,
what?
Don't give me that credit. This is truly the dumbest thing I've ever thought. Like, all of my favorite comedy pieces are just really dumb ideas that I have. Like, what if I just talk about every Star Wars movie and try to do it in 5 minutes, and then I completely go past 5 minutes every single time.
Yeah. But this could be a sketch. I think I told you that that night when we filmed
There are
this.
a lot of people who have told me like, oh, I need to put this on YouTube and get graphics and whatnot. It's like, I need y'all to know I don't care about this enough to do this. Like, I don't.
To give it a treatment.
That seems like a lot of work. Like,
oh man, I could totally see it though. The thing is, you need to be in a suit and a vest, you know, and then we need to just put some books around you. So it needs to be like a professor thing.
yeah.
You know, you're at a
But
desk.
the thing is, like, even if you like think about like what I'm doing, this is the easiest, most least work anyone's probably put into a comedy bit. It's just like I'm just talking about 7 movies. Like, it's not great. Well, I guess 8 at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, there have been lazier bits. I know that when you were talking about, there's plenty of comedians who are super lazy, but when you were talking about, comedians should have some kind of solidarity earlier.
Yeah.
It's difficult because I think that a lot of people who do comedy are generally more, their politics are a lot more liberal. And it just as a generalization. And the thing is, we're kind of used to being burned by the people that we like. You know, it's not that hard to find some dirt on a celebrity, to find someone who's done something bad in their past. And it's like, I mean, the pillar, like obviously we know Louis C.K., we know Cosby, it's like fucking pillars of the comedy community is taken down overnight. And it's like, yeah. I mean, we're kind of used to that. It's much easier for us to believe that some shit like that went down. But even even local comedians, even somebody who goes on stage and it's like, oh, you're sexist. Shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I was having a great conversation with that guy and it turns out, he just said all lives matter. Oh God, you only had 3 minutes. You had to use that phrase.
Yeah.
So
it's weird. Yeah.
It's difficult when, especially like you have nothing else but yourself, right? It's just you on stage. So you have to give your opinions and your feelings. And it's difficult to have any kind of solidarity when there's sometimes people are just wrong.
Yeah. I feel like I've heard that exact same phrase somewhere before, but.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's just this weird thing of like, accountability is like a big thing that like we don't talk about enough, like what it looks like in real time for real people that like we know.
Huh.
And
so stand up is like real time accountability then?
Well, I mean, just like, I don't think we know what it looks like to just like, so like an example of like if someone came up on stage and did some sexist shit, like, yeah, like what do we do with this? You know what I mean? Like, I think like, because sometimes, I don't know, I feel like in the comedy community, we're kind of like so afraid of conflict that we either, like, does anyone ever just go up to that person and be like, hey, you're wrong for these reasons. Think about it. Like, I don't know. Or do we just either like, do we just let that person go? Because I feel like that's what happens the majority of the time. We just let people be them. Or we kind of like do the silent distance thing where we distance ourselves, but we don't like really check that person.
So and it's funny, do you think that going forward people will do that more often? Like that's going to change?
I think they should. I think it should be one of these things where it's like we create more conversation around this stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the future looks like, especially now with comedy and stuff, but it is one of these things where it's like, I think we should expect more out of people. And I think we should like be in more conversation about like the culture and things like that. But it's also on the flip side of that, you got to have people who are willing to like take their ego away and be willing to be wrong and then go correct themselves, which you don't have the majority of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.